Hi, New Jersey. My name is TJ Finnerty, and I am the owner of JobHire.com. It's been a broken website on purpose because I'm broke, but I have a hell of a recovery story to share with you and Roots of Us LLC. The guy over here on my left is the old me. I used to weigh 326 pounds, and that was on psychotropic medications, not drugs. But for my PTSD, doctors thought I needed 8 psychiatric medications that I have tossed for one flower bud, for medical marijuana. I started using it about 3 years ago, and I've been blessed with it ever since, and I challenged myself to come off all addictions and all negative nutrients since this plant spoke to me. And I want to share that experience, strength, and hope with the world, because I'm an addictions expert. Got 30 years in the rooms. I'm a trained psychologist, Chi Sigma Iota. I won that award when I looked like this. That's the bad thing here, because I was a straight A psychologist, went to my meetings and got therapy and did all the medications the doctor sold me. And it was a chemical cocktail that was very caustic. And it blew me up 175 pounds heavier than I am today. So I want to get on with the interview. Roots of Us is uncovering me. We're going to call this my uncover letter, or my uncover session, down in my bargain basement. Go ahead, sir. What's your first question? I was born and raised in New Jersey. I was born in Summit, New Jersey, but I was raised in New Providence. And lived here all my life, pretty much. Medical history is, all right. My story is, my PTSD probably started at the age of birth. I was born into a very violent alcoholic home. My father had brain damage, actually. And while I was identified as a genius in the 7th grade, and I should skip the 8th, my parents kept me back because my brother was addicted to opioids at the time. The doctors gave him many hundreds of Percocets when he got his hand hurt, and he got hooked. This is about 45 years ago when they gave it away like candy. And within a year, they kept me back with the slower kids, and on top of it, my brother shoots me with a .38 caliber handgun right before my freshman entry into high school, and then frames me for it so he doesn't go to jail. But let's not get into the war stories, but that's pretty much my history. That's where the PTSD comes from. They probably treated my PTSD since the age of 6 with Ritalin, and then other psychotropic meds, and it just got worse and worse as years went on. I'm also in recovery for alcoholism, but I've challenged that with the 12 steps, and then I went to a psychiatrist and started to hit me with these big antipsychotics back in 1996, which led to the loss of my company, Crime Blasters, the only pepper spray company that had a water-based training spray for women to practice with so that they can protect themselves better. So some asshole doctor thought I had schizophrenia, that beautiful mind. He sold me on that bullshit, and I became chemically castrated over here. And before you know it, it's blown up over 100 pounds and neurologically neutered and worthless. And I take all my degrees and stick them up your butt because I couldn't do a damn thing with it. And now I challenged myself when I got the medical marijuana card to grow off all drugs. And that's exactly what I did, because I did it with a flower bud, not a drug. So I will be testifying this Thursday on the 19th about descheduling our flower buds because some asshole wanted to sell us drugs. Well, I've probably been on just about every psychotropic drug there is. The doctors had a chemical cash cow, I would call them in business world. I was open. I was wide open to trying to get better. But every time they gave me one med, it caused that ism that they're starting to learn about, that the head brain and the body brain need different nutrients to get along. And what I've learned with this whole plant experience, with the periodic table here, is how I can balance my own moods much better by just eating the right nutrient. And those doctors, they give you things that are good for your brain, but make your body constipated, which is the essence of addiction. They've had me on Ritalin, they've had me on Seroquel, they've had me on Wellbutrin, Namictal, Neurontin, Ambien, Visceral, lithium, clozapine, just about anything. The most expensive thing that they had at the time. But I don't want to get into big pharma. We can't beat up big pharma for not having marijuana available. So I want to get into the consulting business and help out employers and the medical community fight addiction, because there is definitely a nuance to how to use cannabis in a healthy way. And that's what I'm all about. So I'm going to help out Murphy Green up in New Jersey again. My initial thoughts about it was back 20 some odd years ago when the rehab said I had cannabis use disorder and that I can't use cannabis and I have to use their antidepressants instead. And they're antipsychotics for anxiety, because they're addiction-trained psychiatrists give me things that are not addictive, but those antipsychotics certainly are, in my experience, strength and failure with it. So this cannabis is, I think, the Graceway drug. It's not a drug, it's a flower bud. It's the escape from drugs. As simple as that. And they're going to do marvelous things with it. And especially, I think, Big Pharma's got an opportunity to maximize people's performance in a way that they never dreamt of before. We're talking about the iPhone of the intoxicants, because it's not a toxicant. All other intoxicants are toxins to the body. This is unique because it's a nutrient for our nervous system. I can see a day where I can put an application together where we can map the 16 personality types, and we can enhance our workforce like you can't believe. Now, people think that's radical, but these days are coming. Well, I had straight A's in psychology, and they taught me cannabis was bad and that we should counsel people to take their prescribed medications. So when my doctor got colon cancer 3.5 years ago, another doctor said, I think you're an option for the medical cannabis card because you were a gunshot victim as a kid. And that was the one diagnosis I never gave you, was PTSD. And I said, I want to give it a shot because I researched it. And the doctor said, I'll give you a card. And I said, I want off all the other shit though. If I get a chance to get high, I want to be able to change my life. And you know what happens when depressed people get high? They get productive. And I went from patient, pathetic patient, to productive promoter. What cannabis does that the other drugs don't do is that it doesn't cause the ism, or I call the ism, I spoil me or I support me. And I support marijuana. Get it? So it's a nutrient. It doesn't cause the caustic response. Now, if you're smoking it and you overdo it, I do think it causes a ism. Anything that irritates the body causes the ism. When you drink, you get 1 drop of alcohol, you get 1 drop of depression. If you have cannabis, you get high and you also get healthier because it's good for your nervous system, as they're proving out with the epilepsy and the other neurological disorders and the mood disorders. So cannabis is a real contender out there in the world. And what I think is very important is that we deschedule it immediately so it's recreational, so people that are stuck in denial, who are unwilling to get help, can slowly find their way out of the addiction crisis by being able to go to a dispensary and just pick up something. The reason why so many patients like me are out trying to help people and shedding our shame and telling our story is so you can recover and you don't have to shed your shame and Sure, you can just go pick up some weed and relax. So, and that's the lion's share of the workforce. I think there's a hell of an opportunity to get people out of the bars and drain the drinkers from the swamps and get them back into the boardrooms. We got to stop drug testing people for flowers when the drug problem is much more severe than just flowers that are going to get us off it. All of us in America are going to be shocked one day. 5 years from now, we're going to be going, oh my God, we killed millions of people because we outlawed flower buds to sell drugs. And that's just the ugly truth. Step recovery, and I did come out after 3 years after I lost 150 pounds in front of my friends. And I finally had to tell them, I'm just doing too much better without these psych meds. And this is just another psych med. And they go, ah! I got yelled at. And that's not encouraging. No, the stigma is ridiculous. So I started smoking pretty much out loudish, and I don't mind smelling like cannabis. I think it's cologne. I think it's the smell of sanity. I think it's time we all smell the flowers and get our heads out of the pill bottles, is what we should do. I lost 120 pounds. I actually had Cheryl Schumann. I was trying to pitch her on, I lost 120 on 420. And I tried to get Alan Kirby Jr., my boss, to fund job hire as well. He was a billionaire. You get yelled at by a Scottish billionaire, you want to go relax afterwards on cannabis, trust me. So I think Donald Trump's employees could benefit from cannabis as well. But that's just my side thing. But that's the point. 1 gram of cannabis, I probably lost 175 pounds on 4 pounds of cannabis. Is that a good investment? America? I got off dairy, wheat, sugar, caffeine. I haven't touched alcohol in years. I don't do nicotine anymore. I used to smoke 2.5 packs a day, but I quit that before the cannabis. And I got off 8 psych meds. And they also had me on Advair and Spiriva for breathing. And cannabis seems to do better than the Advair and Spiriva. Gang, the hippies had it right. And it's going to be the florists that save us from the drug addiction, not Big Pharma.
Okay.
They were exhaustive under Chris Christie. It was a real pain in the butt. It cost over $400. But let's just, today, we've changed that. Governor Phil Murphy has expanded the program, and now you can get it for as low as $20 if you're poor, and $100 for regular folk. And if you're a senior citizen, I believe it's down to $20 as well. I'm not sure. And veterans get a good discount as well. Now, any doctor in the state of New Jersey with prescribing power for opioids can can recommend cannabis and get you a card, and they no longer have to register with the registry and be outed as a doctor or a pot doctor like Chris Christie was trying to do when he shamed everybody. You had to go find a doctor, you had to get approved by the doctor, then you had to go through 3 interviews with the doctor at about, what is it, $340 a clip the first time, then $150 and another $150. And then you can go get your card, and it cost, they got it, because I was bankrupt, they gave it to me for $50, I think. But it took 3 months just to get a cannabis card. It was ridiculous. And then the price for marijuana in the store, $440 an ounce. Excellent stuff, and it works, and it taught me how to use it properly. So I appreciated the few visits that I made to the dispensary. I did have to do some creative adjustments to guarantee my own protocols to be able to lose all that weight, but I'm not going to admit to that. I've never had that pleasure. I have been handcuffed a few times in my life. I've been flipped out on psych meds a few times. Thank God for those guys, those police officers, to take control when I lost control. But no, I've not had that displeasure. Same thing. Recreational cannabis and medical cannabis, that is why it's the iPhone of the intoxicants. Because it's a nutrient, not a toxin, not noxious like alcohol or other drugs that choke your system or your intestinal brain, as they call it, your body brain. Our head brain likes to get stimulated and blow itself off, but then it constipates the rest of the body, which is the essence of alcoholism or any ism or disease. We don't want to disease ourselves because we don't want to be at a dis-ease. So anything that I've learned this whole process, cannabis, I mean, you don't lose all this weight just by smoking pot and eating donuts. I've learned that addiction is the essence of unnatural things in the body fighting it. The inflammatory response or the immune system going, hey, that's garbage, stop eating that burger or whatever. So I found cannabis to be congruent with the kale of the nervous system. It's actually the nectar of the nervous system. So all along we've missed this opportunity to have an intoxicant that gets you high that actually enhances your nervous system instead of deteriorates it. We outlawed the wrong drug. We outlawed a flower bud. Some really smart chemist thought he was really smart when he suckered us all, and he outlawed a drug, called it the gateway drug, when it was the gateway to the garden of recovery. That's ugly truth. But anyway, the opportunity is we can modulate our health much better with this whole plant. It's a miracle. And I have a lot to learn, and I like to work for the industry, and I like to use job hires as a showcase reality show to showcase Donald Trump that you don't want to. This guy was legally dependent on his ex-wife for alimony and was totally disabled on psych meds, but legal because he had a doctor's note. That's the essence of addiction. Big Pharma was addicted to me. I was a chemical cash cow. Now I'm set free, and cannabis is going to set us all free. So you can become mentally healthy and mentally strong using a plant and smell the flowers again. White Widow is an excellent. Blue Dreams, very good. What are the other ones that I got in? Durban Poison. I seem to like the ones that help me with the creativity and stuff. I have not really experienced too many strains, to be honest with you. I had to do this with brute spiritual strength, psychological skill. Chris Christie seemed to want $800 a month for your medicine. Cash that was non-reimbursable, and that was unacceptable in my financial situation because I sold all my assets to protect my daughter and my ex-wife, and I gave back all the alimony that I collected. So, and I'm still owed them more money. So I refused to pay those prices. I couldn't pay $800 a month. I couldn't do it. As Captain Kirk, you know, they did in Star Trek. They asked Captain Kirk, how'd you get out of that unwinnable situation? I cheated. That's what I cheated. It's time to stink up the world. Spring is sprung, and it's going to be a greener New Jersey. I think Phil Murphy's a visionary that is going after addiction in a broad sense because, and I think a lot of politicians are starting to learn that this is actually the knitting nutrient for addiction. And I'm very excited because I studied addiction science quite a long time. And I know where this is going. And I do see medical cannabis being overrun or vaporized by the recreational market eventually, as my big picture brain looks at it, because I see innovators like me going out there and modulating it with applications and strains and teaching people how to mix strains and how to use it with different vaporization techniques and oils and cooking. Edibles are where I prefer to use. But I think it's high time that everybody just relax about smelling the flowers And I think there's a lot of people dying out there of alcoholism that are in a lot of denial. I think a lot of people are very hooked on much worse medications. And I've been on every psych med on the planet, and I gotta tell you, I've been off them all, and I'm just doing wonderful now. That doesn't mean everybody can just do that, and I'm a highly trained guy that did it with doctors, and I think everybody should be using doctors to help them come off this, but or they need some help, because it was tough. I had to go through hell to get off all this stuff. And I lost it all to the psychiatric meds that I was on for 22 years, and I was sober. And that is how Big Bud's going to raise the bar on Big Pharma, which is good, because Big Pharma's going to get better. So I'm looking for big jobs in Big Pharma. Anybody wants to hire me, but the story is you can get better on basic cannabis, and I'm going to teach you all how to do that. But premium cannabis that I review, I bet you will work better. What I would like to know from the viewers out there is a job hire guy. I'm going to be the guy who wants to hire humans, H-I-G-H-E-R, by firing their addictions. And I haven't done a good job expressing that because I've been poor fighting the old system. But I've been training for a long time here, 3 years. I bought that job hire domain when I got my cannabis card because I am an employment expert that intends to prove to the CEOs out in the world that we're screening out the wrong drug. This guy could have been on your payroll with all those psych meds, and you would have had to give him consideration because he could barely move. I am doing so much better on cannabis, and you're screening me out with all my talents. Top student at Rutgers University and the top school in HR in the country. Top student at Seton Hall University in psychology. And I was the president of the Pre-Law Club at Kane University for 3 straight years. And I was a National Criminal Justice Association intern in Washington, D.C. And a former volunteer fireman. Got 30 years in the rooms, 25 sober, 6 relapses due to psych meds. I am telling the world, this is my 12-step message when I haven't earned $1 in the cannabis industry. Donald Trump, I've lost my whole family to addiction. I'm telling you, this is our Graceway garden. Flip that sin and take this thing off the scheduled drug market. It's going to be the flower buds that gets us off drugs, guys.